Hey guys, what's going on? James here, and in this video today, we're taking a look at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers rookie mini camp roster. Now, I believe there are 26 players on this roster. All the Tampa Bay Buccaneers draft picks are on there. All the undrafted free agents that we have talked about on this channel are on there as well. And you even have a couple of tryout players. So we're going to be going through this list, talking about some of these guys, not every guy, because we'd be here for a very long time. We've already talked about most of these guys on this list, but there are a few names that are very interesting to keep an eye on. So let's get started. So, first player, Jerrell Adams, tight end out of South Carolina, who is currently on a tryout contract. That should be interesting. He is a veteran. He's been in the NFL for a couple of years. And I do want to say this. I know that it's a rookie minicamp, but you still get some guys who are veterans on tryout contracts. I'll be honest, guys, I don't know what the requirements for this are or how this works because, somebody pointed out, I believe it was Greg Allman on Twitter, pointed out that John Molchon, who has had little to no playing time, in the NFL right now, he was only active, I believe, for one game, and he was on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers practice squad for the entirety for most of last season. He's not eligible, but then some, veterans are. It doesn't make a lot of sense, but, hey, John Molchon will get his opportunities. We're still very excited for him on the channel here. But Jerrell Adams, tight end out of South Carolina, he's on a tryout contract. Should be interesting. He's got pretty good size, and it's going to be some pretty darn stiff competition at that tight end group. I mean, a lot of those positions are set in stone in that room. I mean, and even Tanner Hudson, is going to be interesting to see him getting playing time. So we'll see how Jerrell Adams does. He could be a guy who maybe ends up on the practice squad. The rules stay the same with allowing veterans on there and whatnot. But Jerrell Adams, tight end out of South Carolina, is on a tryout contract. Calvin Ashley, offensive tackle out of Florida A&M. We actually talked to him very recently here on the channel. Big guy, super nice guy. I'm excited for him, and I know a lot of you guys are as well. I think he's going to do a wonderful, wonderful job. Let's go, Calvin. Jose Borregales, kicker out of Miami, another undrafted free agent. We talked about him. Interesting, very interesting to get a kicker in here like Jose Borregales. We will see how he does. Will he push Ryan Suckup? Who knows? That'll have to be wait to be seen. But KJ Britt, linebacker out of Auburn, Tampa Bay Buccaneers 5th-round draft pick. He actually just signed his deal. We talked about that in a separate video earlier. Augie Contresa, safety out of Stony Brook, another undrafted free agent. We'll see how he does competing for a special teams role and a backup spot. Amara Darboh, wide receiver out of Michigan, is also on a tryout contract. And this one's really interesting to me because, Amara Darboh actually has a history with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. In 2019, he was on their practice squad and even got elevated for a regular season game or two, which has been, very intriguing to see that. He is now back with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers after a year away. So the Tampa Bay Buccaneers must, at least be still somewhat interested in him to bring him back after having him away and say, you know what, let's see what you got again, Amara Darboh. So, yeah, we'll see how that develops. And by the way, guys, the list is on the right-hand side of the video here. I've been scrolling through, so if you want to look at that, look at some of these names, that is all good there. Jalen Darden, wide receiver out of North Texas, Tampa Bay Buccaneers 4th-round draft pick. We all know how excited everybody is for him. That should be a lot of fun. Javon Hagan, safety out of Ohio, who is currently on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers' current roster. Again, this is where the rules just still get confusing for me, but Javon Hagan, I know that there are some people out there who are excited for Javon Hagan as a potential backup safety / special teamer. I know he's spent time on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers practice squad. So, I'm excited as well. Let's see how Javon Hagan does. He has a little bit of experience in the system, so that might, give him a leg up on some of these other guys out there competing for a backup safety job. Javon Hagan, let's see how he does. Robert Hainsey, center / guard out of Notre Dame, Tampa Bay Buccaneers 3rd-round draft pick. And we already made a video talking about Robert Hainsey. It is interesting that the Buccaneers have him as a center / guard here. Versatility is important. So, we'll see where he ends up when everything is said and done. I've talked about him potentially playing center, being that developmental backup center. But I could also, seeing him just have that dual role for an entire season. Slide him out to guard if they need to, but also having him be available to play center if he needs to as well. So, hey, I'm very excited to see the development of Robert Hainsey. We've talked about him a lot here on the channel, so let's see him continue to grow and develop. Antonio Hamilton, cornerback out of South Carolina State, is also on a tryout contract. This one's going to be interesting. He actually just most recently played with the Kansas City Chiefs against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in the Super Bowl. I don't believe he played in the Super Bowl, but he was there. He was on the sideline, which is a good thing. Antonio Hamilton, he will be competing for that backup cornerback job. He is another veteran in the NFL, which is going to be very interesting to see how he does on special teams and as a backup corner. He has that experience, which is probably going to give him an edge over some of these other guys. So pay attention to Antonio Hamilton. Let's see if this tryout contract, and really any of these tryout contracts from the rookie minicamp, turn into actual full-time contracts. Ladarius Hamilton, linebacker out of North Texas, just recently was claimed by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers from the Dallas Cowboys, which is a very interesting thing. Let's pay attention to him. I know he's got very good size for a backup middle linebacker. You then have Sadarius Hutchinson, guard out of South Carolina, another undrafted free agent who's been getting a lot of love from Pewter Report, by the way. And John Ledyard over at Pewter Report feels that he could make the Tampa Bay Buccaneers final 53-man roster. So let's pay attention to Sadarius Hutchinson and how he does as a backup guard. He's got some very stiff competition in some of the guys there like John Molchon and some others. Cameron Kinley, cornerback out of Navy, another undrafted free agent competing for a backup cornerback spot and a special teams spot. Nick Leverett, tackle out of Rice, was with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers current roster. I believe he was on the practice squad. So we will see how he does, maybe as a backup right tackle, maybe as a backup left tackle. Again, he'll be competing with Calvin Ashley, who is right now viewed by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers as a right tackle. So some very stiff competition there. We'll see how that all shakes out. Elijah Ponder, defensive lineman out of Cincinnati, another undrafted free agent. He could be a very interesting guy as a pass rusher. Tryout Pope, running back out of Jackson State, is also on a tryout contract. Again, another veteran type guy who, man, he's got some power to his game. He's kind of a stockier running back, and he's got some decent power. I would be intrigued to see Tryout Pope, on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers roster for the remainder of these offseason activities and in a preseason game as well. I would be intrigued. I don't think he'd make the final 53. I mean, you never know at the end of the day. Maybe he would. But I do like Tryout Pope. I really do think this dude's got some good power to his game, and I think he could be a good running back. So pay attention to Pope here, running back out of Jackson State on a tryout contract, and see if he gets a full-time contract now with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Sam Renner, defensive end out of Minnesota, another guy we talked to here on the channel. Fantastic guy. We're rooting for Sam Renner as a backup defensive end. Let's go, Sam. You then have Curtis Riley, safety out of Fresno State on a tryout deal. He's another guy who is on, a veteran guy. He's been in the league since, I believe, 2015. And this one's interesting because, like how I said with Antonio Hamilton, he's a veteran defensive back. He may have an edge here on some of these younger guys because he's been in the NFL. He knows what it's like. He's got experience as a backup safety and as a special teamer as well. So it's going to be very interesting to see how Curtis Riley fits into this mix. I could see maybe 3 or 4 of these tryout contract guys getting converted into full-time contracts, Curtis Riley being one of them. You then have TJ Simmons, wide receiver out of West Virginia. We talked to him very recently here on the channel. Fantastic interview. Wonderful guy. We are pulling for TJ Simmons here. Kobe Smith, defensive lineman out of South Carolina, who is currently on the roster. Donnell Stanley, center out of South Carolina, who is currently on the roster. Both those guys spent time with the Buccaneers practice squad last year. You then have Grant Stewart, a draft pick linebacker out of Houston, Buccaneers 7th round draft pick, which is interesting that they have him listed as linebacker and not linebacker/safety, which leads me to believe that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers might be trying him out full-time at linebacker to see how that is. So that's kind of an interesting wrinkle there, that on the Buccaneers official website, it is a linebacker spot for Grant Stewart. So let's pay attention to that moving forward. Kyle Trask, quarterback out of Florida, Buccaneers 2nd round draft pick. Joe Tryon, outside linebacker out of Washington, Buccaneers 1st round draft pick. Lawrence White, safety out of Iowa State, undrafted free agent. Chris Wilcox, cornerback out of BYU, Buccaneers 7th round draft pick. And that's it, guys. That rounds out the entirety of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers rookie mini camp roster. Some very interesting developments, some very interesting names on there. I'm specifically interested in some of the veterans. Obviously, I'm rooting for the guys who have been here on the channel, who are friends of the channel. Sam Renner, Calvin Ashley, John Molchon. If he was there, I'd be rooting for him. But TJ Simmons as well. I'm pulling for those guys. I want to see them succeed and carve out roles for themselves. And it's going to be a lot of fun to see all these young guys grow and develop and see what positions they are best in And let's just all have a lot of fun watching these guys go out there and practice. Hopefully there's a lot more news to come out of some of these guys, you know, performing well and doing well in drills and things along those lines. But anyway, guys, what do you think about this roster? Who do you think is intriguing names to you guys? I've already given a lot of names that are intriguing to me, but I want to hear from you guys. What names are intriguing to you from the list of all these guys that I mentioned? And I know people are going to say, you know, the draft picks and whatnot, but I'm thinking outside of the draft picks. You know, undrafted free agent guys, some of those guys that are on tryout contracts, you know, which guys are interesting to you? Give me your guys' thoughts down in the comment section below. But anyway, guys, thanks so much for watching this video. Hope y'all enjoyed, and I will see you all in the next video or the next live stream. But until then, and as always, guys, goodbye for now, and go Bucs.